Welcome to Coaching and a Cuppa, where we have conversations about coaching with other coaches. My name is Leslie Miserak with Get Courageous Coaching. We offer leadership, confidence, and retirement coaching. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let's take a listen. Well, today I have on the line with me Tracie Jae. She is the quiet rebel. In a moment, I can't wait to learn a little bit about the Quiet Rebel. Tracie Jae, you're located in Houston, Texas, I believe. And, first things first, what's in your cuppa?
I have honey lavender latte from one of my favorite local places, but I put it in one of my favorite mugs.
I love that beautiful Wonder Woman. Tell me about that mug. What do you love about that mug?
It just reminds me that there's a little bit of Wonder Woman in all of us. So,
I
yeah.
I love that. Well, cheers. I've got my iced tea in my travel container, so cheers. What's your favorite coffee place?
Um, Locally, my favorite coffee place is a place called Rado.
Okay.
It's a restaurant, but they have good coffee.
Okay, excellent. And is that in the Houston area, or what part of Houston is that in?
It's in Houston in a part of the city called Third Ward.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you for sharing. So thanks for being on with me today. And so let's start off with the Quiet Rebel. Tell me who the Quiet Rebel is and why they are the Quiet Rebel.
So the quiet rebel is me and I am she. Um, so quiet reflects introspection, which I think is a really important aspect of life. I don't think we get very far if we are not looking inward. And then rebel reflects innovation. And so one of my least favorite expressions is because we've always done it this way. Um, and so when we need to do something new, we should do something new.
Mhm.
So that's that's why.
I love that. How do introspection and innovation come together for you? How does that show up?
Uh, it shows up in a lot of ways, actually. I spend a lot of time in my head,
Yeah, I can
uh,
understand that one.
but also um, what I'm doing in my head is not just like stewing, right? I am looking at the problems that face the world and
Mhm.
figuring out where I can be a solution. And so yeah, so they intersect often. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Excellent. Um, what brought you? I know I want to talk about the type of coaching you do in just a moment, but what brought you to coaching? How did you land in the coaching space? And I know you do some other consulting as well. But how'd you land here?
Um, Sort of by accident. Sort of by accident.
Uh-huh.
Um, I set about to solve a problem,
Okay.
which was I didn't think that we were having honest conversations about race and culture in
Hmm.
America and specifically in Houston where I live.
Hmm.
And so I hosted an event on the leap day in 2020 called 100 Voices, where I invited 100 women to come together and have this guided conversation about race and culture. And and it snowballed.
Okay.
so,
Tell, tell me what that means. Tell me about the snowballing effect.
from that first event, I was invited to replicate that event in other places.
Hmm.
And after replicating that event in other places, all during COVID, all virtually, um, I started getting invitations to do workshops and trainings,
Okay.
and the workshops and trainings led to coaching.
I love when that path happens organically.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. I truly would, I wish we could spend the whole time, and we're here to talk about coaching. I wish we could spend the whole time talking about the race and culture because I think there's a ton there. So maybe we'll come back and revisit that another day if you're open to it.
Sure.
I mean, especially even in our kind of changing environment that we're dealing with right now February, March 2025. The conversation is changing. But let's talk about the type of coaching that you're spending a lot of time on right now. And it says something about being human. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so I have a framework called a more
Uh-huh.
human approach,
Mm-hmm.
which is a decision-making framework that helps us remember that on the other side of the decisions that we make, humans are there.
Oh, powerful.
So often we think about the decisions that we make, especially in business, as tied to a profit or tied to a process. Always outcome, outcome, outcome.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people on the other side of these outcomes. And
Right.
if we don't consider the impact that we're having on people, then sometimes we make really bad decisions.
Yeah. Tell me about the people. Who are those people in your mind?
It's whoever we consider stakeholders, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are our clients, they are our teammates, they're
Mm-hmm.
our the people we serve and the people who we order from.
Yeah.
They are the government. They are a lot of people.
Could be societal everywhere,
Yeah,
right? Just depending on the organization.
yeah,
Do you do so? First of all, do you mind sharing a little bit about what human is? I know there are some elements to what that human stands for.
yeah.
Would
So
you share?
I love a good acronym. And
Mm-hmm.
human stands for honest,
Mm-hmm.
urgent, meaningful, accountable, and nuanced. And those are the five things I think we should consider, or at least the five place to start, right? Five things to
Mm-hmm.
consider when we're making decisions about almost anything,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if we take ourselves through the questions that go with those five things, typically we'll have a more human centered
Mm-hmm.
response on the other side.
I love that. Where does the human-centered kind of approach come from? Is this something you've developed or something you have taken and perfected or made it yours?
No, it's born out of my heart and mind.
Nice. I love that. How are you sharing that with others?
um, Through my social media, through invitations to speak,
Hmm.
through word of mouth referrals.
Okay, awesome. When you think about like honest, so I do a lot of work in the Dare to Lead space.
Okay.
And we do a lot of work around kind of real conversations. Um, but honest to me is a powerful one. How are you, especially since that kind of starts out the human acronym, how are you um talking to human? What's a question you might ask or something you might have someone look at from a human that mean the honest perspective?
So the very first question at the top of this sort of platform of questions is
Mm-hmm.
what are the facts?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So often, like we start with our feelings, and feelings can be
Mm-hmm.
factual, right?
Yes.
But they're only factual to us, right? But what are the facts that we can agree to? What's really happening in this scenario that we need to address?
Have you developed the capacity to help someone understand what a real fact is and a made up fact in their mind? An imagined fact?
We talk a little bit.
Confabulation?
We talk a little bit about an imagined fact,
Mm-hmm.
but an imagined fact also can be a belief,
Oh.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
a belief is a story we've told ourselves and that we come to agree on,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which may or may not be real.
Mm-hmm. Like confabulation thing, right?
Yeah.
Um, Excellent. Yeah. So the facts to me are really interesting because that's where the crazy stories that we create and then just inflates from the emotional
And
aspect. So I love
if there's a fact, Leslie, it can be proven, right?
right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Without a doubt. No, I love that. Um, When you're talking with someone and they are stuck in the story they've created, what they've imagined, whatever that confabulation or conflation might be, um, have have you seen them change their perspective when they realize they're stuck in the story?
I have, but often it doesn't even take that much work
Uh-huh.
because when people are asked what are the facts, they haven't even considered them usually.
Mm-hmm.
Usually they've only been in the story. They
Mm-hmm.
haven't been in the facts. And so if you just take that heartbeat and say, tell me what the facts are,
Mm-hmm.
it usually helps people get out of the story pretty quickly.
I love that. That's amazing. You have any success stories you'd like to share around clients, whether they're groups or individuals, and no names, obviously, that have gone through and grown through your human-centered approach?
Um, the stories are still unfolding, honestly. Like,
Uh-huh.
I'm really grateful when people call me back and say, hey, I used your human acronym, right? Or I did it with my team, or I did it with my spouse,
Mm-hmm.
right? And even though I've been sharing this framework with people for 4 years now, it's just now starting to stick. Like so many organizations have SMART goals,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you can hardly go into a business space where people don't know what a SMART goal is and what it stands for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just now starting to get to the place where when I say human, people know that I don't just mean person to person, but that I also
Mm-hmm.
mean honest, urgent, meaningful, accountable, and nuanced.
Awesome. When you think about this human approach, and I love that accountability is in there because to me that ties back to kind of the business goals, the business needs, right? It ties it together instead of it just being kind of fluffy sounding. And
Hmm.
I truly know this is the stuff that's the least fluffy, but it feels fluffy to people because we can, business owners and bosses are so focused on KPIs and ROI and all the alphabet soup things that they don't
Yes.
necessarily think about the human. So I love that the accountability piece is there because you can actually tie that to something that is, goal driven. But that said, how are you delivering this approach? Are you working with organizations? Are you working with businesses? Are you working with teams? Are you doing individual? How is this showing up in organizations or with
Uh,
others?
yes, to all of your questions.
Okay.
Yes. Um, my favorite sort of sweet spot is to work with small teams,
Mm-hmm.
um, because it helps with that accountability piece,
Mm-hmm.
right? If other
Okay.
people on your team are all using the same sort of metric,
Mm-hmm.
but I also do one-on-one. I also share in a like workshop format. So
Okay. Okay. Excellent. How have you seen a team come together when they've used this? How have you seen them grow or change?
I can think of two different clients in particular. One is a school group where I did
Mm-hmm.
this work with the entire staff, right? And so I know that they check each other against the acronym.
Ooh. I love that. So that mutual, not only the using use of the acronym, but that kind of mutual accountability, supporting
Yeah,
each other.
yeah,
Okay. How do you help them, or how do you suggest that they check each other, right? Because quite often if it's a team, they are coworkers, peers, collaborators. How do you set them up to where they're checking each other from a humane perspective, right? Without versing attack, you messed up, right?
yeah. So the part of the beauty of this more human approach is that it's inquiry based,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that we trip ourselves up when we make statements instead of ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
And so the framework is designed to help people ask questions. And so if you're asking questions, it's because you want to know something,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's because you're curious. And it's because you don't understand something, right? And so usually other people are willing to help you understand something,
Mm-hmm.
right? More willing to help you understand something if you're asking a question rather than saying, you did this wrong.
Gotcha. I love that. Okay. Um, when you help people understand how to, because I mean, you and I are in the coaching space, and coaching, good coaching is really about asking questions and helping people, letting them find their answers, helping them see their answers.
Yeah.
Yes, we all probably do a little bit of advising and consulting along the way, or at least I know I do. But that said, when they can find their answer inside, it can be so powerful. These teams that you've worked with, individuals with this human approach, and I know you said the acronym is kind of sticking, and you're starting to hear where people are using it. How do I want to ask this question? What is standing out as kind of their main aha moments?
Um, we have often really deep conversations about urgency,
Mm-hmm.
the U in the human
Mm-hmm.
acronym,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
because too often everything is urgent,
Of course it is.
right? But when I talk about urgency, when I think about urgency, my primary question is, where is the pain?
Mm-hmm.
And and that is the place where we need to spend our time and effort and energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the absence of pain, because sometimes there's no pain, right? How fast can we get to the joy?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that usually is an aha moment for people because we're very busy and we're always thinking that I have to do everything right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have to do everything right now. But some
Right.
things really require our attention. And when we
Mm-hmm.
ignore the things that are urgent because we have all these other things in front of us, then something's going to fall. And it's usually going to harm a person on the other side.
I love that. I think it's the Eisenhower matrix where they look at urgency and importance.
Hmm.
Everything's urgent, yes. But is it really important? Is it
Yeah.
going to impact the problem? Is it going to solve the pain or help us figure out what the root cause is?
Hmm.
I really like that. Thank you for sharing that. Um, is there anything you'd like to share with me or us, our listeners, about your human approach? And your tagline talks about in the first part of the website, a more human approach with love first, always. Anything you'd like to share around that?
So, love is another acronym,
Okay.
and it is an acronym I use to help us have grace filled conversations.
Mm.
And love stands for listen with your heart, own your experience, venture into unfamiliar territory, and expect the best.
Ah.
So if we're starting with love
Mm-hmm.
and we are remembering to be human, I think that like that's a path to follow.
Love that. That makes my heart sing. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Well, first of all, thank you for joining me today, but I would be remiss if we did not talk about those amazing glasses that you have on your face. You and I started the conversation before we hit record about these glasses. Tell me about those glasses and why they're you.
So I got a referral from a friend from a to a company that sells great glasses, which I won't plug because we're not getting paid for that.
Uh-huh.
And when I was flipping through the website, I saw these and I was like, "Oh, I've never seen glasses like that." And so they spoke to me. So I bought them. I bought two pair of glasses, these and a different pair at the same time.
Uh-huh.
And uh, these just say Quiet Rebel. They say you can see the world through different lenses at the same time, that you can be right next to somebody or something that is totally opposite from you and still see okay and still be okay. So they stuck.
I love that. Have they become your trademark kind of with people now?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, if for nothing else, I have a feeling people are going to be reaching out to find out where to get those glasses from you. So that's a great thing. Anybody reaching out to talk to you is a fantastic point. Tracie Jae, the Quiet Rebel, I am so excited that you came to talk with me today, and that our friend Kiana connected us to be able to have this conversation. And I do hope you'll come back, because I also want to talk about the equitable coaching, the equitable conversations, because I think that's really powerful to continue, if you're okay with that.
Happy to do it.
Oh, thank you so much for joining me today on Coaching in a Cuppa, and I will see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today for Coaching in a Cuppa. We hope you enjoyed this conversation. You can listen to other coaching conversations at getcourageous.com